Welcome to episode number 150, New Customer Onboarding Process. That's a lot of episodes.
That is a lot of episodes. That's almost 3 years worth.
Exactly. So I'm Paula Williams.
I'm John Williams.
And we are ABCI, and ABCI's mission is
to help all you ladies and gentlemen out there sell more products and services in the aviation world.
Absolutely. So this episode is brought to you by ABCI Sales and Marketing Lab, which is what we used to call our insider circle. And we add more to it every year. So it's turned into a real experimental opportunity for people to try things out, to run ideas by each other, and to really get the most out of their relationship with us so that they're getting some really good marketing out there, right?
Hence the term lab in the name.
Exactly. So the Sales and Marketing Lab includes the smartest people in the aviation industry. We are really, really fortunate to have some of the coolest people in that group. And so we're in a private Facebook group where you can share some ideas and get some feedback before you put your advertising out into the into the wild, as it were. And the friends and family that you'll find in this group are incredibly helpful and very detailed in the
straight with you.
Exactly.
They don't pull any punches.
That you get. You also get to be a member of our book club, so we send you a book every month that we think is important to the industry and why. We do networking events, including our upcoming NBA breakfast, right? Mm-hmm. We have office hours where we work with you on whatever your priority is that month, and of course we have something that we plan to talk about, but of course a lot of our customers have urgent things that they want to take priority, and so you're the boss. Exactly. You're the boss, and that hour is yours to do whatever you want with it, and it's actually the least expensive way to get professional consulting that I have ever heard of, right?
As far as I know.
Exactly. All right, so today we're talking about your onboarding process. And whatever product or service you have, that first impression and that first 90 days of working with a new customer is pretty critical, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just like you are in a charter business. You know that first few seconds of first impression when people walk into the FBO and then walk from the FBO to the aircraft, there's a lot of little things that really help them feel at ease and really feel like this is going to be a good experience for them, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So we have a checklist that we've been using with our clients in their office hours. And this includes what we have learned in many years of doing customer onboarding, new customer onboarding. And why is this a marketing thing, not a customer service thing?
Yeah, because it has to do with your marketing.
Yeah, I don't think your marketing ends when you get a check from the customer. And shouldn't end when you get a check from the customer. That's really a jarring way of doing business. I think your marketing should continue, and you should be continually marketing to your customers. That you're constantly earning their business. And this is a really important marketing step to make sure, one, that sale sticks and is a good experience, not stale. But that transaction is a good experience for everyone. And then secondly, that you get more referrals and good testimonials and things like that out of that relationship. And we really set that up in the first few minutes of a relationship, whether that's long scale or short scale as we think about it. Okay, so we're going to go through this checklist with you today and talk about some of the things that are on it. So the first category on our checklist is what we call a warm handshake. And this is at the point that there's a psychological thing that happens as soon as somebody parts with their money, right? Where they suddenly go through this psychological process of, I just gave something, did I get something of equal or better value? And that is a gut level, not necessarily a brain level exercise that people go through in their analysis of, did I make a good deal or did I make a bad deal?
And you don't want buyer's remorse to set in.
Exactly. And this is where, if I feel like I made a bad deal, that's where that buyer's remorse kicks in.
You bet.
And where they may try to get out of a deal. In most states, there is like a 3-day cooling off period from the time a transaction happens in which anyone can depart from the transaction and be left whole. And the reason is because people get all fired up by your marketing. Everybody knows that can be really powerful, and people can make bad decisions. So what you want to make sure is that they made a good decision, first of all, by doing your marketing in an ethical way up to this point, and then carrying on from this point and saying, you know what, you made a really good decision, and let me tell you why. Right? So some of the things that you can do with that are a project kickoff meeting, or it might have to be a virtual meeting depending on the nature of your product or service. So you can use GoToMeeting, you can use Skype, you can use any number of different things. We use Zoom right now, and we're actually really liking that pretty well. Seems to be working really well for us.
Seems to be low on resource utilization, easy for people to use.
Exactly. But, if they can see your smiling face and you're going through the process of answering their questions and making sure that they're comfortable, in person is best, but teleconference is next best, telephone is next best, and paper is worst. Actually, nothing is worst. And there's a lot of people that do not do any kind of a kickoff. They just take the check and they deliver the product, and that's the end of the story. For most aviation products, it requires a little better, more polished delivery than that, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So we also want to do introductions so that they will know the people that they're going to be working with. So they may only have been working with the salesperson up to this point. Now they get to meet their project manager, their mechanic, their implementation manager, whatever you call that person that's going to actually be doing the work for them.
Exactly.
Okay. So you want to make sure that you make those introductions, and you want introductions to everybody on their side that's going to be affected by this, so that they feel comfortable picking up the phone when they have a question or a problem, and you can get those solved sooner rather than later. Roles and responsibilities. You want to go over that in your first meeting, and also in your documentation, so that most aviation products end up being kind of collaborative. The customer is responsible for certain things, even if it is just showing up on time for a flight, or even showing up at all for a flight. There may be some limitations on baggage, there may be some other things. So, what is the customer's role and responsibilities in making sure this is a good experience? And what are your roles and responsibilities, and what are you committing to in this transaction, right?
Yes.
Okay. You want to set your expectations for the first 30 to 90 days and say, here's what we expect to happen. There's a reason that they bought this product or service from you, and they have their expectations. You want to make sure that those match up with what you expect to be able to provide, right? Okay. Mismatched expectations, I think, is one of the biggest reasons that relationships go sour in aviation and many other business relationships. Somebody has an idea in their head. If you don't talk about it, you don't know what's in their head, and you don't know if you're going to be profoundly disappointing them if you don't meet the picture that's in their head, right?
Yeah, communication failure is a very easy thing to happen.
Right, absolutely true. And a new customer welcome package, and we're actually going to be talking about that in more detail next week. We like to, especially if it's a service where there's not really anything that they get in their hands when they hand you the check, it feels like an unequal transaction, even though it may not be.
Exactly.
But if you provide some kind of a new customer welcome package that has their documentation in a nice folder and has cookies or something to make that feel like a more equal transaction or a good transaction from their point of view. So welcome packages we'll talk about in more detail next week. Okay. Next thing you want to do is you want to provide an early win. Now this is really important, especially if you have a subscription service or something that they're going to be paying for more than once or making more than one payment for. So they make their initial payment before their next payment is due. You want them to have some kind of good result, right?
One would hope.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to cut off, and you may have a really long-term project with them. Some of our software people and maybe maintenance people have a long-term goal in mind. But if you give them some smaller, easy win that they can see that you're making progress, especially before they have to make that second payment, that can be a really good thing. So give them an easy initial success, and you can break your product into parts that are kind of engineered along those lines. so that you've got an early win. You want to collect baseline data. Now, this is important because it's so easy to forget to take that initial picture. They bring in that ugly interior. Before you start working on it, your initial impression is just, let's get this job done as quickly as possible. You need to hold off long enough to collect baseline data, take those pictures, get those metrics, do whatever you need to do to document their current state so that you can show the difference. And those before and after pictures, one is Wisconsin Aviation did this interior, and you can see the before and after. It's so much nicer. Mm-hmm. So if you do something physical, you want to make sure you get photographs. If you do something where you've got some kind of metrics, you want to make sure you collect the data up front so that you can show a snapshot or a graph or a chart of here's where you started and here's where you are now 30 days in, or whatever you decide your early win phase is. You want to show the contrast of the before and after as much as possible. So make sure that your data is organized so that they'll be able to see that. And you want to congratulate them on doing their part. So remember, in that initial phase, we set expectations and roles and responsibilities. So they met their roles and responsibilities, and these are the results. And you want to make sure that you warmly congratulate everyone on their team for doing their part in making this happen and getting this result, right?
It's not as difficult as it sounds.
No. But what's interesting is a lot of people forget to do it.
I know.
Right?
I know.
In fact, we talked with someone just the other day who has done some amazing interiors, and their customers can't say enough nice things about them. And I asked them for some before and after pictures. And all they had were after pictures, which is nice, but it doesn't show people brought in this piece of trash and ended up with a diamond, It's not as powerful as if you have those before and after shots.
True.
Okay? All right. You also want to make sure that you involve as many people on their side as you can, because it's very likely that you're doing business with a CEO, CFO, chief pilot, somebody at the top of the food chain. Yeah?
I'm just thinking, what about those people that are in the service industry? You can't take a picture before and after, especially if it's like what we do.
Marketing?
Yeah.
No, but you can show a chart or a graph. You can show before.
I just want to make sure that you're just not talking cameras here.
Exactly. You can show before and after screenshots. We do people's websites, so we do screenshots. Mm-hmm. There's always a way to show a before and after.
Just saying.
Depending on what you sell. Good point. Okay. And we want to make sure that we're involving as many people from their side as possible. So even if we're dealing with somebody who's at the top of the food chain, there are lots of people in that organization that can help or hinder our success, right?
You bet.
So if you can make sure that you recognize the people who have contributed to the project, make sure that you're rewarding them for their good behavior and other kinds of things, and recognizing people that may not normally get recognized by contractors and other folks. Okay. So that is your before and after. The onboarding process actually continues forever, but within the first month, you want to provide some type of an executive summary. Because even if you do those before and after pictures, and even if you're doing a great job every month, the folks in the front office may not be aware of what you're doing, and they may not hear of the great work that you're doing.
They're just looking at a spreadsheet and seeing expense next to your name.
Yeah. And if that's all they see is your bill every month, you're not in a good position.
Nope.
So, the only time they hear about you is when they're supposed to write you a check. So you want to make sure that you're sending them an executive summary, and this means English, not technical
jargon.
Terms. Yeah, right. If you do charts and graphs and things like that, you want to make sure that you're explaining them really well and keeping them super simple, because the CEO is really busy. This is one of a million things he has to do today.
He's got to be able to glance at it and get the idea at a glance.
Exactly. So an executive summary is really good to do once a month. You can also send reports that remind them of, here are the accomplishments for this month and here's what's planned for next month. Just bullet points is really a good idea. You want to make sure that you're continuing that relationship on a monthly basis. So you may want to put a tickler for yourself to connect with them on social media, promote their posts, promote their annual events, there are other things that are going on, their anniversaries, their birthdays, things like that. You might want to send them a tip of the week or something like that as an email, so that they're getting something from you that's of value each month or each week. Okay, then on an annual basis, we like to do a thing called the State of the Industry. Here's what's going on and actually a lot of our clients are insurance folks or brokers or technology people, people who work with clients who may not know what's going on in technology. They don't know what's going on with the law changes in insurance or taxes or whatever. So they want to hear from the people that they have hired to take care of stuff for them. What's going on in the world and what do I need to plan for? So do a State of the Industry once a year. That really gives you an opportunity to position yourself as their advocate and their expert who can tell them what's going on. We like to do account reviews so that you're getting personal with them at least once a year and saying, here's what's changed in the industry, here's what's changed in the market, here's what's changed in technology, here's what's changed in your business, tell me about that. And so we can match that up and make sure that the thing that we're selling you is still the best possible option for you.
Exactly.
And make any changes or adjustments and things like that, so that you don't get out of date or out of sync or out of whack with what you're doing for your customers. So you want to make sure that you sit down in depth at least once a year and go through that kind of thing. Annually, you may want to send a package either at the end of the year or at Thanksgiving or, whenever is convenient for you or effective for you. And you might want to include a handwritten note or a card thanking them for their business. So many people don't do that anymore. They just assume they'll stay with them forever.
And if you have a lot of people to send handwritten cards to, there is a service out there that will do that for you.
Yeah, they actually have a human being.
They will handwrite what you want and let you preview it before it's sent.
Yeah, Shane Ballman told us about that in his office hours yesterday. So thank you, Shane, for that tip. We handwrite all of ours. We've tried some of the automated services and we found them to be cheesy.
Well, but haven't tried the one he talked about.
No, we didn't try the one that he talked about. The ones that we tried were actually robots using handwritten fonts and other kinds of things. But you want to make sure that they have their invoices and tax documents before they have to ask for them. Make sure that that's really convenient for them. You may want to make sure that they have a current catalog of your products and services, because they may not have been thinking about the other things that you do last year, but next year they may have a need for that. Okay. New toys, office accessories, shop accessories if it's a blue-collar situation, toys for their kids, food or candy, these things are things that we include in yearly or annual thanks for being our customer packages. We like to send them at Thanksgiving. Some people send them at the end of the year. There's lots of ways of doing that, but you want to make sure that you're thanking your customers that are spending especially a lot of money with you, and in aviation, who isn't spending a lot of money with you, right?
That's right.
Okay. All right, so once again, this episode was brought to you by our sales and marketing lab, and how that applies in this situation is a lot of people like to run ideas by other folks before they put together their customer onboarding process and figure out, what does make a great warm handshake, what makes a good early win, what are some ways that I can send something monthly without going broke, what are some ways that I can make this easy on myself and my staff and still provide these things to our customers that we need to. And our Facebook group is a great way to run those ideas by other people who really are executives in the aviation industry, so they know what they get and what they like and what's useful to them. We also have our book club, our networking events, office hours, and other things. So if you'd like to talk with us about your onboarding process or anything else, we do free 30-minute consultations. Just go to our website. There's a big gold Contact Us button in the middle of the front page now. And speaking of obvious, if you click that, it will take you to a page with our calendar, and you can select any time that's convenient for you. Pick any 30 minutes that's open, and we'll sit down with you and go over your customer onboarding process and see what we would recommend, or if you have any problems with it or anything that you'd like to do differently. So Thanks for joining us.
And we'll see you next time.
And we'll see you next week. Absolutely.